How good is David Watson? 20-year-old Kilmarnock midfielder is a type of player that I think is really hard to profile. Scotland under-21 international, he's been playing regular football in the Scottish Premiership since he was 18. It's the type of midfielder that's got a brilliant goal catalogue, but when you look at his all-round play, how actually good is he? How good do you think he's going to be? What's the next step for him? Is he Kilmarnock level? Should he be looking to step up? Obviously, he's only 20 years old, still got plenty of time in the game. I think he's got really high potential. But how good actually is he? So we'll start off by looking at the scouting report here, looking at his strengths. He's aggressive, good anticipation, he's brave, can crash the box really well, presses well, high stamina and high work rate as well. He's a really hard-working midfielder, gets stuck in about, not afraid to tackle, again, reads the game very well. Favourite thing about him probably is that energy, though. The energy brings from the midfield, the ability to get into the box and go on then the crosses. Like I said, his goal catalogue is incredibly impressive. When you look at it, there's been overhead kicks, volleys, mazy runs from the halfway line. His goal catalogue is just brilliant from someone of his age. And just looking at some of the key stats here, so in 20 appearances this season, over 1,806 minutes, he's got 3 goals and 1 assist, averaging 4.73 progressive passes per 90, 3.14 interceptions per 90, and 54% in terms of duels won per 90. We'll break down the data a bit more. Look at the first radar here. Again, it's not overly impressive. The closer they are to the edge essentially means a higher percentile and the better the player is in the category. And you can see the only thing amongst peers and central midfielders that have played over 1,000 minutes, the only thing he ranks really highly on is goals. Like I say, it's one of the most impressive things about his game, how he can crash the box. Getting the end of those crosses, he's really good in the air as well, especially when it comes to in the box from set pieces and from crosses from open play. It's where he excels at, but that's where I think it's difficult when it comes to actually profiling the player, where he should be playing, what position he should be used in, and what kind of midfielders you put round about him. So put on the comparison next from last season. So you can see that he's still ranked highly in the goals. Successful defensive actions he ranked a bit more highly in this season. Same for successful attacking actions and dribbles per 90. There's been an improvement there. Not as high in the successful dribble percentage, but the numbers are kind of there or thereabouts. And I don't think it's because he's not improved as a player. I do think he is getting better. Again, he's always had those energy levels, always been able to put himself about. I think his passing has got better, his decision making as well. But it's just knowing how to use him. I think a lot of managers struggle with that because he's not the type of midfielder that many will come across. I think not exactly the type of profile, but you look at Scott McTominay and how he was misused at Manchester United and how good he's been for Napoli, how good he's been for Scotland as well. The type of player that you're not looking for everything to go through them. Not a defensive midfielder, he's not going to hold the fort down, pick up all the loose balls. He does read the game well, he is capable of nipping in and taking the ball away. But he's not going to be that pure defensive midfielder. He's also not going to be that creative player that's going to take on 2-3 players and then play a through ball. He's also, again, he's just not going to create loads of chances. He's not going to carry the ball a lot. It's one of my biggest criticisms of him, that he doesn't carry the ball enough. When it's something he is good at, you can see it more for Scotland and the under-21s, that he does carry the ball a bit more than I would say he does for Kelly. So it's something I think he needs to improve on. Just taking the game by the scruff of the neck, I do think it's something he's capable of doing, but we've not really seen it so far, or not really seen it consistently enough from him. So again, we're just going to break down that scouting report a bit more and just look at some more of the data points and some of the things he excels in. Again, as I've said before, David Watson's not the type of player that's kind of data analysis dream. He's not going to stand out in every category. He's a player that's kind of more pleasing on the eye, maybe more pleasing in short bursts, and I do think that's something he needs to improve on. Just looking at box crashers here, so shots per 90 average is above the average for midfielders in the Scottish Premiership, the same for goals as well. It's above the average in both categories there, and it is, I think, one of his main qualities and something that teams will look at, because midfielders that can score goals are very expensive, especially in today's market. Again, you look at how much someone like Scott McTominay would cost these days when he's getting goals from the midfield and players of that ilk. And then, like I said, he is a tenacious defender, so you look at the defensive duels per 90 there and the successful defensive actions. Again, he averages above average in both categories in terms of players in the league. So he is good. Again, he's averaging above 4 categories there that he's above the average. So really solid, but you just look at the data as a whole and there's nothing that really stands out. There's nothing that you can kind of put your finger on and go, this is the type of player that David Watson is. And again, even though he's only 20 years old, that's my biggest criticism of him, because he's been playing first team football for 2 years. He's been in the league, and I don't think it's purely his fault. I think there's just managers don't know how to use him, how to utilise him to his strengths. The last thing we're looking at here is another radar, and it's not something I normally do, but I was quite interested to see how he compared to more of his peers at an under-23 level. So you do see a big increase in the radar there in the percentiles. So it is interesting to look at that in terms of assists and XA, the aerial duels won, just how much the category is going to go up when you compare him to players that are roughly around a similar age. It's not, again, something that I normally do, but I just wanted to look at it in terms of David Watson, see how he compared to players closer to his own age instead of looking at the experienced players in the league. But I think he's just such an interesting player. He's a player that I'm actually a big fan of, despite some of the negativity I've had in this video. I do think he's got big potential. Like I said, goal-scoring midfielders cost a lot in this market. He's a type of player that could go for a lot of money in this market, but obviously his contract's running out at Killie this summer, so it'll be interesting to see what his next move is, whether he goes to a higher level, tries and goes abroad. There's been previous rumours of him going to Italy like Lennon Miller did in the summer, or Aberdeen, Hearts. Those teams have been linked as well. Rangers and Celtic names are always bandied about when it comes to any young Scottish talent, but I do think he can offer a lot to teams. It just takes the right manager to take him, hone his skills and just put him in a position that you can get the best out of him. He's not, like I say, he's not the creative type. He's not a pure ball winner. He can win the ball. He can create. He can link the play. But he's not going to be the player that averages 50 passes a game with 90% accuracy. That's just not what his game is. He's good at linking, good at getting forward, good at crashing the box. So some managers needs to get a hold of him, work on those skills, perfect those skills, and I think he can be a brilliant player and an absolute asset to teams going forward. What do you think should be next for David Watson? Should he stay at Killie? Should he look to move to an Aberdeen or a Hearts, or should he look to go abroad? Really interesting to see how highly everyone regards him. Again, I really enjoy making this kind of video, really enjoy looking at these types of players. If there's any other players you want me to look at, please leave them in the comments below. Hope you enjoyed, and don't forget to like and subscribe.